Let's get one thing straight. Pan was not your typical Olympian god. He didn't throw lightning bolts or ride a chariot. He was the god of the wild, forests, fields, and all things untamed. With goat legs, little horns, and a beard full of leaves, Pan was more at home napping under a tree than causing drama. His claim to fame? A flute carved from a river reed that played the most sleep-inducing music ever heard. While Apollo dazzled crowds, Pan's music was so boring it could put a hyperactive griffin to sleep in 3 notes. But that was his superpower, ultimate calm. He played songs about grass growing and snails crossing rocks, music for dreaming, not dancing. Pan loved his quiet life. While other gods chased glory, he just vibed with nature. He knew the wild needed rest as much as it needed excitement. When the forest got too noisy, Pan's flute brought peace. He was the official bedtime storyteller for the natural world. If you ever feel an urge to nap in the woods, you're probably in Pan's territory. Don't fight it. You're about to hear the most beautifully boring lullaby ever created. His music wasn't for parties, it was for dreaming. It was the sound of pure, uninterrupted peace. Pan believed the best parties were the ones where everyone fell asleep before the snacks were served. Sometimes that's exactly what the world needs. So next time you find yourself drifting off in the wild, thank the goat-legged god. He's not flashy, but he's the reason the wild can rest. In a world full of noise, Pan's gift was silence, and that's a kind of magic all its own. One afternoon, sunlight danced through the leaves, and the forest buzzed with life. Squirrels chased each other up oaks, blue jays argued in the branches, and frogs croaked by the stream. The woods were a chaotic playground, beautiful but exhausting. Pan wandered in, breathing in the scent of pine and earth. He loved the wild energy, but he knew even the wildest spirits need a break. In a sunlit clearing, dryads danced and naiads splashed, laughter ringing like wind chimes. It was a joyful, noisy party. Pan smiled. The forest was alive, but it was time for a siesta. He settled on a mossy boulder, unnoticed by the busy creatures. The best part of his music? You didn't have to pay attention. It worked better if you didn't. As the nymphs twirled and the animals scurried, Pan raised his flute. The forest was about to get a lesson in the art of napping. He took a breath, ready to play the forest nap song. The wild was about to discover the beauty of rest. Sometimes the greatest magic is knowing when to slow down. Pan's music was about to change everything. And it all started with a single sleepy note. Pan blew the first note, a soft, low sound, gentle as a sigh. It drifted through the clearing, barely noticeable, but packed with magical boredom. The birds felt it first. A blue jay mid-squawk froze, blinked, and tucked its head under its wing. Birdsong faded to silence. The woodpecker's frantic drumming slowed, then stopped. It leaned against the tree, instantly asleep. Squirrels halted mid-chase, acorns forgotten, curling up on branches for a nap. Even the insects lost their buzz, settling quietly on leaves. The magic spread like a gentle fog, no command, just a suggestion. Hey, how about a nap? Every creature, from bear to beetle, agreed. The forest's energy dissolved into a wave of sleepiness. And Pan had only just begun his song. The clearing, once wild with motion, grew still. The animals surrendered to the irresistible pull of rest. Pan's flute was a lullaby for the entire wild. The first note was all it took to start the great forest nap. The world slowed, then paused. Even the busiest creatures couldn't resist. The wild was learning the joy of stillness. And Pan played on, weaving peace into every note. The forest was falling under his gentle spell. The nymphs, once the life of the party, felt the sleepy melody next. A dryad's graceful spin slowed, her arms drifting down as she yawned. Soon all the nymphs were yawning, their dances turning to sleepy stumbles. Pan added more notes, simple, repetitive, and soothing. Laughter faded, replaced by soft sighs as the nymphs searched for cozy spots. One leaned against her willow, eyes fluttering closed. A naiad's splashes slowed to gentle ripples as she floated, eyes heavy, letting the current rock her. The party was over, a slumber party had begun. The most energetic dryad stumbled to Pan's boulder, murmured, "Your flute, it's kinda boring." I love it," and fell asleep at his feet. Around the clearing, nymphs snoozed in sunlight, peaceful and content. The wildest spirits had surrendered to rest. Pan's music was a lullaby for the restless. The clearing was now a patchwork of sleeping friends. The wild had found its peace. Even the most energetic couldn't resist the call to nap. Pan's song had worked its magic. Pan's music didn't just affect creatures with ears, it reached the soul of the forest itself. The lively stream, once chattering and splashing, slowed to a gentle murmur. Its rapids smoothed, the water flowing like glass. It was as if the river let out a long, contented sigh. The naiads floated, asleep, and the stream joined them in rest. The water's whisper harmonized with Pan's flute, telling the river it didn't need to hurry. Even the fish felt it. A trout paused mid-swim, drifting to the sandy bottom to nap. The underwater world grew quiet, the current lazy and slow. The river pulled a cool, watery blanket over itself and slept. Pan's lullaby had reached every corner of the wild. The forest's heartbeat slowed, united in peaceful slumber. Even the river dreamed. The ancient trees, silent witnesses to the spreading slumber, felt the music too. Leaves stopped trembling, the breeze died down and branches fell still. The trees seemed to hold their breath, listening to Pan's deeply boring song. Growth paused, sap slowed, and the forest canopy became a vast silent ceiling. Not a single leaf rustled. Sunlight lay still on the forest floor. The entire ecosystem entered a shared, peaceful hibernation. Pan's music had sung the whole world to sleep. Even the trees were dreaming. Pan played on, lost in the zone of ultimate boredom. The melody looped, hypnotic and soothing. One nymph, half asleep, mumbled, "So peaceful, like watching paint dry, but in a good way." She smiled in her sleep, a strange compliment, but for Pan, the highest praise. He had created music so uneventful it brought pure happiness. Pan smiled, still playing, knowing he'd brought perfect peace to his chaotic woods. The nymphs, animals, river and trees all shared in this great nap. His boring music was a special kind of magic, one that created silence and rest. In a world too loud and busy, that was the most precious magic of all. Pan's gift was peace, not power. The wild was united in sleep, and Pan's heart was full. The god of wild naps had done his job. After a few more minutes, Pan played one last, drawn-out note. Silence followed, full, peaceful and alive with the breath of 1,000 sleeping things. Pan looked around, satisfied, nymphs in sun patches, squirrels on branches, the stream a sheet of glass. Everything was at rest, no arguments, no chases, just peace. This was Pan's favorite moment, the world holding its breath in a shared dream. Leaning back, Pan felt his own eyelids grow heavy. He rested his head, sighing happily. The sun warm on his face. He was part of this peace, not just its creator. The wild was napping, and so would he. With a final smile, Pan closed his eyes. For a moment he listened to the silence he'd made. Surrounded by the quiet breathing of his world, Pan drifted off, his flute resting in his lap. The great forest snooze was complete. And so, the forest slept under a blanket of quiet. Every creature, from ladybug to bear, was united in slumber. The usual sounds were gone, replaced by a deep, resonant silence. This was Pan's magic, not power, but care. His music was medicine for a world always moving. It reminded the wild to rest, to heal, to breathe. The sun dipped lower, but no one stirred. The peace was so complete, it felt like it could last forever. When the forest finally woke, it would be softer, calmer, and renewed. And Pan would be gone, leaving only the memory of the best nap the wild had ever known.